Also, random question for anyone who's watching. Do we have the same nails right now?
Oh my goodness, do we?
I have been looking at your nails and I think we have the same. Oh my gosh!
Do we? Are they glamnetic from Amazon?
Yes!
We're so pretty. Look at us. We fancy. Oh.
Welcome to Rivera and Reeves, the podcast where we break through the bias, report the news, and occasionally trip over our soapboxes while ranting about the headlines.
Every week, we tackle the biggest stories with sharp analysis, unfiltered honesty, and just enough sarcasm to keep it fun.
So pull up a chair, grab your coffee, and join us as we wade through the spin because the media is trash and we have zero patience for their nonsense. Hey friends, welcome back for another episode of Rivera and Reeves. I'm Mercedes and I'm here with my friend Rachel. Say hello, Rachel.
Hello, Rachel.
I saw you. We're both sporting Diet Cokes here today. Look at us.
Yeah. And it's been a week already and it's only Tuesday afternoon.
It is
and
only
so
Tuesday.
I think this is my number 3 for the day. And I usually just drink one Diet Coke a day. So if that gives you an idea of where I'm at.
The news cycle has been insane. This weekend.
Trump wants us dead. He's like, let's see if they can keep
Well,
up.
it's not just Trump. It's just the world situation in general because this weekend was full of news. And I completely, I bricked my phone on Sunday and I was just like, I'm just going to focus on what I need to get done. And by the time I came back, I was like, what in the world?
Yep.
And then yesterday morning on my Instagram stories, I just kind of tried to do a quick run through, but there was so much news just coming back on a Monday.
Yeah.
And of course, this morning, the news continues on. All right. But before we get into today's episode, if this is your first time here, welcome. You have found your new favorite podcast. Make sure you hit that follow button wherever you're listening, be it on YouTube or on your favorite, podcast platform. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday. And for our paying supporters, we're here once a month with a bonus episode. Unfiltered is what we call it. We actually just put one out, I think last weekend, not this weekend, but the weekend before.
Yep.
Maybe. I don't remember. Everything is a blur. The point is that
it was this past Saturday.
Okay. See, I don't even know what day of the week it is. Point being, those are exclusive for paying supporters. So if you want to listen, watch the video. It is on our Substack platform. There is a link in the show notes if you want to become a paying supporter. I highly recommend you do so. Because not only do you get a bonus episode, you get ad-free episodes, and you get this podcast a full day early than anyone else on YouTube and several hours before the audio podcast. All right. Enough of the spiel of us schlepping our platforms and begging you for money. Let's talk about the news. So, okay. Today, we're going to be focusing on the Iowa superintendent and also the deployment of the National Guard in Portland. But before we get into those stories, there's a bunch of little things that are going on. Big announcement yesterday from Bibi Netanyahu and Trump. Bibi was the prime minister of Israel, was visiting with Trump. They presented a 20-point plan for negotiating peace between Israel and Hamas. And we're going to have our friend Amanda Peterson here on Thursday to go through that plan, what she knows, because she covers this way more in depth than we do. What she is hearing about the approval of it. What are the sentiments on it? Is this possibly going to be something that's going to go through? Of course, none of us are really holding our breath, although reports currently are that Hamas is amenable to this peace plan. So I don't know, not exactly I trust them implicitly. We'll see how that goes. What else? Trump is currently in the Oval Office announcing Trump RX, which is a drug buying website. I only laugh because this man is branding everything.
Everything is going to be Trump. All of it. Everything. It's going to be the Trump Oval Office somehow. So the gold has to stay up.
Oh,
but everything is Trump
gold.
now. Yeah. There's more gold.
Did you see that he posted on Truth? I should have grabbed it for you. He posted a Truth with a video of all the accoutrement that he's been putting on the walls of the gold
I did not
details.
See it.
And he's 24 karat gold and how all of the world leaders compliment him on his gilded Oval Office.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
Yep.
So That was posted yesterday, but that's not what's
Well,
important here.
and this isn't even the first time he has given a very lengthy speech today. This is the second lengthy speech he has given because he was in Quantico, Virginia this morning addressing, what was it, a couple hundred up to 800
Yeah.
military officials this morning for it was what was a secret meeting, not so secret anymore, but he spoke there forever. And then he showed up at the Oval Office isn't talking forever again. And then he's signing executive orders this afternoon, or so I saw on his schedule at like 3:30. So he just like continues. There's no breaks. When is he eating
No.
lunch? Like, what's going on?
I'm looking at it right now. He's still talking. This morning, remember I kept texting you, this man is still talking when he was in Quantico talking
Yeah.
to all of the military leaders.
Yeah.
It's nuts. But this Trump RX, like just a quick synopsis from the Wall Street Journal. It says White House to announce Trump RX drug buying website deal with Pfizer. Says plans to launch a direct to consumer website for discount drug purchases. Pfizer is expected to announce price reductions on several U.S. medications, potentially benefiting 100 million patients. And
My
then
goodness.
Pfizer CEO will also announce a $70 billion investment in U.S. pharmaceutical manufacturing. I haven't read in depth to this. I think this is very interesting that this is being announced at the same time that the government is on the threat of being shut down today, and that the Democrats are claiming or wanting more funding for the ACA when the Republicans just
Mhm.
want a clean CR so they can
Yep.
continue running the government while they negotiate all these details. And then
Yep.
Trump comes out with this drug exchange website, which I
Definitely
think,
on purpose. It's
yeah,
definitely on
well,
purpose
I
right now.
mean, if it's not on purpose, it's very convenient timing because the whole
Yeah.
narrative right now is that he doesn't care about you and your medical bills.
Right.
Now, I mean, I don't know if this is exactly going to, obviously, this is not going to counter the concerns there are of rising prices with Medicare or Medicaid. Um, but he's definitely gonna be pushing it, like, it's a very strategic announcement considering right now what is going on. Although I was listening to Bobby Kennedy, and they said that they've been negotiating this now for months, and they were just kinda keeping it
Yeah.
on the DL. So this isn't anything that's, like, recent.
Hmm. Well, and
So,
I
I don't
posted
know.
about it maybe an hour. I posted about it maybe an hour ago, and tons of people are already in my DMs like, "Yes, please. We would love to be able to not have to buy medicine from overseas. We'd love to have the option to get EpiPens and insulin and things like that at a better cost from inside, the country." And it should be noted, people are looking for alternative ways of getting medication. Amazon launched their Amazon RX, a year or two ago. So I don't think it's a horrible idea. I laughed at the name, but if it's a solution
Trump
to an
RX.
ongoing problem that both Republicans and Democrats talk about a lot, well, maybe it's a
Yeah,
solution.
this is he even talked about how he had tried to do it before but then COVID happened and it didn't work out. Well, what else happened over the weekend? Then we also had those two shootings, both by veterans, one
Hmm.
in North Carolina, one in Michigan. They're still investigating them. There's still a question of motive. So far, what we've seen is that the one in North Carolina looks like a history of mental health and being
Yeah.
known to the community of being causing issues. And
Uh-huh.
then the one in Michigan, there was a recent report of someone who had spoken to him recently
Hmm.
where the Mormon church came up in the conversation, and
Yeah.
he spoke very negatively about Mormons in general,
Hmm.
calling them the Antichrist is how
Hmm.
he would describe the Mormon church. So, but specific, I mean, obviously, I don't think he was a fan of the Mormon church.
Right.
There's also a lot of speculation that he has had a history of mental health after serving in Iraq for, I think it was like 4 years,
Yeah.
2000, 2008, something like that. So maybe not 4 years, but he was there for a little bit.
I know with the
And since
first shooter, that one made
he
me
was like
pause
super decorated.
he had a purple heart,
Yeah.
and it made me sad because, I mean, obviously what he did was evil, but you could almost feel the trajectory of mental illness once he was sent to Iraq. I think he was there on 2 different tours. And, you don't go to an active combat zone and earn a Purple Heart if you're like super mentally unstable. So obviously this happened
Afterwards, yeah.
post his tours, and his parents even really, or his family, from what I remember when I was reporting on it, they were crying out like he has mental illness. The vets has Veteran Affairs has fallen down on their job. It was I don't know. It's so highlighted this weekend in particular, highlighted the mental health problems we have in our country. And,
Well,
with
and I
our
think it's,
veterans.
they're all in different levels, especially it's most,
Mhm.
you have concerns because veterans, they served their country and then they
Yeah.
would end up in this condition. And then, we've also had an issue with young men too.
Yeah.
And then we also have an issue of mental health with homelessness in
Yes.
conjunction, like what happened right before Charlie Kirk with the Arena, I forget her last name, but the young woman that was killed.
Zaruska. Yeah.
Yes, in North Carolina. And so, like, is an overarching
Mental health
mental
breakdown.
health. Exactly.
Oh, yeah. It's like mental health is targeting or is a common denominator in all of these different groups, disaffected veterans that didn't receive care that they needed or who are just mentally unstable. They're over here. And then criminals and their mental health issues. And then the homeless and their mental health problems. And then also the youth of America that's being fed like super, super toxic, dangerous ideology. And it's being pumped into their veins through media, pornography, like so many different avenues. And then their mental health issues on top of that. It's an underlying like common denominator with all of these different groups. And it's just making for a super violent reality in America.
Yeah, it's really disturbing and it's very sad. But on those two incidents, I guess, information is still developing on them. So as
Yeah.
we get that information, we will share it. Definitely, of course, follow us both on our Instagrams for any of these breaking news or any of these updates. So I want to talk about, and interestingly, this wasn't even on purpose, but today's episode is actually going to focus a lot on illegal immigration. Because I
Hmm.
think this is the most wild story. When did the superintendent story break? Was it on Friday?
Friday afternoon because I was on well, when it became real to me. I was on my way to a date night with my husband and I start getting all of these alerts and I was like, this can't be true. Like
Correct. It sounds
obviously.
insane.
I mean the largest school district in
In
Iowa, I was
Iowa.
like, there's no chance. And there was. And I threw up something real quick just so that people were aware of the story. And then the following 2 days, I got more and more information about it. And it's just too bizarre. It's one of those things where it's like, if you wrote it down, people say this all the time, like if you wrote it, but truth is stranger than fiction. If you wrote this in a book, your editor would be like, that sounds
That's not
very
true.
unlikely. That's not going to
Yeah,
happen. And
that
it's like,
can't
well,
happen.
it did in America. So
Well, if you haven't been following, just so you know, on Friday, a man by the name of Ian Andre Roberts was arrested by ICE. Now, he wasn't just arrested. He fled the ICE officers in his government, like state government vehicle. He was issued a vehicle as superintendent of this district. He fled. I believe the car like went into the woods or something like that. He then jumped out of the car, went into the woods, hid, and had to be found using a canine officer.
Mhm.
When they approached his vehicle, they discovered a handgun, $3,000, and a blade, a knife. I think it was just one of these folding knives. And then information about him has come out. Now, he has been superintendent. I think he was hired in 2022, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
So he's been superintendent of the largest school district of Des Moines, Iowa. Reports are that he overstayed his visa. So he came to the United States in 1999 on an F1 student visa to attend St. John's University and overstayed. Eventually, at some point, he was issued a final deportation order in May of 2024. This is during the Biden administration. Now,
Mhm.
previously, also in 2020, he had a weapons charge. It was February of 2020. Now, the details
Mhm.
of that particular weapons charge, I think a lot of people, like, you hear about a handgun in his car at the time of his arrest. You're assuming that the weapons charge in
Yeah.
2020 was also a handgun. So
Yeah.
that event in 2020 was actually in regards to a hunting rifle, and it was like a minor infraction where
Mhm.
he had laid down the hunting rifle in the back seat. It was improper, I think, storage of the hunting rifle.
Oh, so he got okay.
Yeah, and so he got like this charge, but it wasn't anything huge. What I think is interesting though is that even back in 2020, he would have been here illegally. And
Right.
it should
How would that
also
not
be
have been pulled up? Like,
I that's there's so many, like, opportunities for, I guess, him to be exposed or whatever. I don't know what
yeah.
the right word is, but, and he wasn't. And then, mind you, this is particularly important to point out, the weapons charges, because being in the country illegally or not being a US citizen, even if he was here legally but not being a US citizen, he is not allowed to carry a firearm. Like, he's not, like, that's illegal. It's only US citizens who have, I don't know, met the requirements of whatever state that they're in that are permitted to have a firearm, be in possession of a firearm.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know. I haven't investigated. I don't know if there's some loophole. I don't want to say loophole, but a different standard for
Yeah.
rifles when you're hunting, because many states will have different standards, handguns versus long guns. So I
Mhm.
don't know if maybe that's part of it. And he didn't, the officer just didn't do like a full, check. I don't know, like, at what extent a state officer, especially some forest officer, is going to know of whether or not he's illegal at the time that they're issuing an infraction on a firearm. Like, I'm not
Oh,
100% sure
okay,
on
but
that.
my thought would be if I am sitting in the Oval Office or just like state government, my thought would be when I hear this story, wait a second. There should be a very, very, very simple way for every single person who is pulled over and issued a ticket or whatever for any officer for any infraction to be able to just see at the top of, the search, undocumented, illegal. Like this should be so, so, so simple. There should be one flag across the country.
Yeah, but you know that historically the states haven't spoken to each other. We've seen this issue with teachers who abuse students that go from state to state. We've
Mhm.
seen this issue
Right.
with sex offenders that go from, like, this has been a consistent problem that from state to
Yeah.
state they don't communicate with each other. And I mean, you would think with illegal immigration,
Yeah.
considering it's a national level, it should be something of more concern, but
Well, even just
not
in a state
surprising.
though, like I know when I went to go teach or when I've really done any type of job, work at a church for Pete's sake. They run background checks. You have to issue and show them when I went to go work, I had to show them all kinds of documentation, my social security card, birth certificate, all kinds of things. How along the way was he able to skirt around all of that? That's my question. And if states aren't doing basic background checks. On a background check, you have to get a background check. To be a superintendent of the biggest school district in your state, there has to be some kind of background check. How did he not get flagged as an undocumented immigrant at that point?
Well, here's the deal, and that's one of the things that is really interesting in this case. Now, I should mention that since he's been arrested, he has
Uh-huh.
lost his state issued, what is it, like, superintendent license.
I mean, good.
So that has been
That
that has
makes
been
sense.
revoked. Yes. However, so he specifically for this position was hired using, I think it was called JP, I forget the name of the group, but it was a hiring firm that was
Uh-huh.
used to do the search, select him. They were supposed to go through the entire processing of background checks and everything. And then it was JG Consulting. That's the name of it.
Uh-huh.
And they specialize in finding and hiring for upper level education professions. They even have a whole page on their website, at least they did yesterday, where they were announcing the fact that they had found this superintendent and filled this position. So is JG
Even after the
Consulting.
news hit that he was an
I
elite,
found
like
it
they
yesterday. I don't know if it's still up there, but I did see it yesterday.
That's insane that that's still up there. Like,
Now,
hello.
it is that consulting group who is
Mhm.
hired by the Iowa Des Moines School District to find their superintendent.
Right.
Now, it would be up to them because it even says on their website that they do all the type of background check, they check into them, they
Yep.
verify their education, all that they do the vetting for you and that they
Right.
just present you with the candidate. Clearly, that did not happen in this situation.
Yeah.
However, also previously, he had been working in Pennsylvania in the Mill Creek Township School District. So there's also the question of like, how did he end up as superintendent over in this Pennsylvania district too?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I have gone through background checks simply to teach, not even to be an administrator or a school counselor or um, a superintendent, all of which would, I believe, require more scrutiny than just an average teacher. And this it just seems crazy to me. And so like when people tell me, Rachel, when I was sharing a lot last year about the SAVE Act, trying to make sure and ensure that no illegal immigrant can vote in our national elections, and people are like, that is not happening. Don't be crazy.
Well,
Maybe it's like 100 people in the nation, but it's not consequential. And I am like, hello, obviously this is not only possible, but apparently rather easy to pull off, it seems.
well, did you see reports that this individual has been registered to vote in the state of Maryland in 2012?
Yes, I did.
So to say that it never happens, I mean, look, honestly, I think that the scale of which something happens, we don't really know if we're not really willing to investigate it. And I think, this is
Right.
a high profile case where clearly something wrong happened. Multiple things were allowed to
Hmm.
fall through the cracks. There's also a big question if a lot of things were overlooked because of the desire to fill these upper positions of education with a person who is a minority, a person of color
Hmm.
here,
Yeah.
who immigrated to the United States, but a lot of his information is inconsistent. So, and what's fascinating to me too is the headlines or the focus of the media, of course, is like almost every headline that you read on this story from legacy
Hmm.
media is a simple statement of Iowa superintendent detained or arrested by ICE. That's all it says. It doesn't make any mention whatsoever of the fact that we have a longtime illegal immigrant that is running one of the largest school districts in the
Hmm.
state of Iowa. Like, I think that should be much more of a headline and the scandal than the fact that he was detained.
Of course.
But that's not the
Of
headline
course.
at
Of
all. And
course.
that's not the focus.
No, and legacy media uses the headlines, the actual headlines, and to manipulate because they know most people aren't going to read further if something kind of justifies their narrative. The same thing happened over the weekend. You already see the New York Times putting out stuff about those two people, one homeless and one college student, who hung themselves in Mississippi. New York Times is already trying to, they're not explicitly saying, these are lynchings, but they put the word lynching in their headline. The lynchings still have an echo of the past in Mississippi. And then they'll show a picture of an African American man standing there talking about how he knows that these, in the little teeny text, he knows that these things that happened were actually suicides, but it still echoes lynchings to him. And you see that and you realize they're using the few words that they have to craft a narrative because that's what's going to stick with people. Most people are not going to jump in and read an entire article. We're not built for that anymore. People don't do that anymore, sadly. But they're doing it with this too. They're burying the lead. It'll be like maybe 3 paragraphs in or 4 paragraphs in, but they know that they lose people by then.
It's interesting actually that you bring up that story about
Yeah.
because one of them, I think they were both suicides. And one of them,
Yeah. One was a homeless
was
man and one was a college student.
yeah. And so oh my gosh, I forgot her name right now, but she goes to college campuses to challenge college students on abortion,
Mhm.
the Student for Life
Mhm.
group. And do you know who I'm talking
Yeah.
about? She has long dark hair with glasses. I can't believe I'm blanking
I
out of
think
her
her name
name.
is Savannah. Is that what her name is?
No, it's not Savannah. No. Anyways,
I think it's
so
Savannah. No? Okay.
I know it's not
Oh,
Savannah.
Kristen Hawkins.
Yes.
Kristen
Yes.
Hawkins.
Kristen Hawkins. Thank you. I was going to say Kristen Hawkins. So I recently saw a video of her where she was on the campus with, talking to one of these students. And one of the students actually said that after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, students were lynched on college campuses in reaction to Charlie Kirk's assassination, which absolutely makes no sense considering that everybody knew from the get-go that the assassin was a white guy. Like, I don't understand why all of a sudden that would make people lynch Black men on college campuses on top of that, because she specifically said college campuses. I don't know if these two events happen near universities, but she was like, Google it, look it up. That just happened. Well, that's what she was remembering some headline that happened shortly after, around the same time as Charlie Kirk was assassinated. And she put two and two together, made assumptions, filled in the blanks with false assumptions. And that is a conclusion that she reached, that people in response to Charlie Kirk's assassination, because he was such a horrible fascist Nazi, then decided to lynch young students of color on college campuses, which is insane to me. Like, that's how the rabbit hole of the mind goes when you are just focusing on the headlines and not the full context of these stories. Like,
Yes.
I was like dumbfounded. I'm like, where did that even come from?
It's
that
just, we're a
idea.
soundbite nation right now. And if people hear 30 seconds that confirm their bias, they're all in. They don't check the facts, they don't check the data, and they just run with it, because who's going to tell them no? Like, there aren't a whole lot of people standing, at college campuses and saying, go look at your Google right now, look up that exact story, read about it, So they're not accountable to anybody. They can just say whatever they want.
Well, have you been following Laura Powell's investigation into Ian Roberts and his background?
A little bit. Like, there's been 7,000 news stories this week.
I know.
So I'm doing my level best. While my kid runs around like with a bucket on her head behind me, and the other one's playing a violin, and there's macaroni and cheese on the ground. So I'm trying.
Well, let me give you an update. So she's actually been doing some investigation into Roberts, specifically his resume, his background. And for example, she points out that he called himself a doctor, as in like a doctor of education, even though at the time he did not have the degree. He claimed a doctorate from Morgan State in 2019, which is false. It says it's from an online university in 2021, Morgan State. He has claimed that he had won a Principal of the Year in Washington, D.C. in 2013 from George Washington University. This is unverified. There's a bunch of inconsistencies too. Like, he has said that he was born in Ghana, but then he's also said that he was born in Brooklyn and raised by a single mother. So it's almost, and these are like in interviews. So he's asked in interviews because he's gotten a whole bunch of coverage by local news every time he is. I think he was also he competed in the Sydney Olympics too for Ghana. Did you not know that?
No.
Yeah.
He's an Olympian too. Okay.
He's an Olympian. So that's what I'm saying. It's like he had this whole resume and all of this, it's like, it's very impressive, especially the image that he's produced. But the problem is that a lot of the information, and I think that's part of why he has fallen through the cracks. Like, he's saying, I'm an Olympian, I have all these degrees, I am an immigrant. But then also he's saying that I don't know if he said okay, so Ghana in a 2022 interview claims Brooklyn and then raised by a single mother in a 2024 news story. But the marriage certificate says that he was from Ghana. So he has claimed to have been from Brooklyn at some point in an interview. I don't know if he said he was born in Brooklyn or he just allowed people to assume that he was from Brooklyn. But
crazy how it wasn't picked up on earlier than this. It's just bizarre.
Well, and the thing is that as far as I know, I went looking, and the only time he entered the United States legally was back in 1999 on the student visa. So
Mhm.
he's been in the United States, assuming that he hasn't left, because I didn't see any evidence of him leaving. He's
Right.
been in the States since 1999, all this time. And the estimate, I think, is that when he came, he was about 30 years old. And previous to that, he had served in the military in Ghana and the police too. So he's like a very interesting and colorful
This guy's done a
resume.
lot of stuff,
Yeah,
apparently.
and I think
Jeez.
that is kind of like what made people think, "Oh, we don't have to look
Mhm.
too far into it." You
Yeah.
know? He has Georgetown. He did have a master's from Georgetown, for example. Education credentials on LinkedIn list many universities but no degree shown. Claims 2 masters, 2 doctorates, 1 bachelor's, plus Harvard postdoc, but not all of these can be confirmed.
Weird.
Like
It's like it's just enough positive data to confirm what people hope is true. It's kind of like how if someone, gives you 60% of the truth, or 60% of what they say is accurate, you'll dismiss or kind of turn a blind eye to the 40% that's really cuckoo. I don't know. That just seems like they saw a couple things that they could confirm and it confirmed what they wanted it to confirm for them, especially if they were looking at it from a diversity standpoint.
Well, speaking of whether or not they were looking at it from a diversity standpoint, do you know who hired him? Like who ultimately like set up the plan to look for someone and then approved his hiring?
I believe it was someone who worked for Kamala Harris.
Nope.
Was that it?
Close, close,
Wait,
close.
hold on.
But
Hillary
not
Clinton.
quite. Nope,
Was
not
it
that.
Hillary?
No, it was not Hillary. It was Jackie Norris, who actually was the chief of staff for Michelle Obama at one point.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
And so if you look at this panel, she is the chair right now and the one that has been the spokesperson who has been interviewed on this situation specifically. And if you look at the full board, I don't want to stereotype, but it's
Mhm,
all a bunch of what look like to me your typical liberal white women, all women that just
mhm,
wanted to have someone to kind of like put the stamp on them of their like in the right, that they have included and
yeah,
brought this person in. They have met their morality DEI requirement with this hire.
mhm,
I mean, even if you watch the video of when this consulting group, JG Consulting, has an
mhm,
image of when he was hired, and he has like all of these ladies behind him, just like so happy that
mhm.
he was hired. And what I find very interesting is that even Jackie Norris, so she's, the school board chair, and she
Yeah.
addressed the Ian Roberts situation. And I'm going to play the clip here for you so you can see how she categorizes this
Mm,
this situation.
It seems fitting to take a page out of Dr. Roberts' book and ask the community to engage in radical empathy as we work through this situation together. We do not have all the facts. There is much we do not know. However, what we do know is that Dr. Roberts has been an integral part of our school community since he joined over 2 years ago. During his time with our district, he has shown up in ways big and small.
So I thought what was particularly interesting was her statement of like radical empathy. Like
of
we need
course.
to just feel really bad for him because he's
Mhm.
being put in such a horrible situation when
Yeah.
he's such a good guy.
Yeah, that's like vestiges of summer 2020 and all of the toxic masculinity, toxic white supremacy, toxic femininity, white girl tears, all of those tropes that have been talked about that are now we're watching the dangers of what that ideology does when you have judges that are, you know, trying to do this like restorative justice for criminals, saying we need to have empathy for them and that this is a new type of way we deal with people who are breaking the law is to have empathy, understanding, compassion. And I'm not calling for I just think you need to follow the law. I know this is very hard for people, but you need to follow it. And then if you don't, you can't expect other people to go, you're right, you did something bad, but I'm going to be understanding with we can't run a country like that. And that's just what you're seeing across the board in, you know, in so many different sectors. And it smacks of the whole Robin DiAngelo it was all these white liberals telling white conservatives, especially women, check their bias, calm down, lead with love. Let's really talk about our emotions.
Don't question the fact that he had a firearm that he wasn't allowed
Right.
to have in the car, that he was carrying this money, or that he fled the police. Look, I can get him flee. Like, obviously, if he knows he's in the United States illegally and
Obviously, he
ICE
knows.
is going to come after him,
Right.
yeah, like, big shocker,
Mhm.
he ran.
Yeah.
But also my question is, like, why? I'm like totally pro Second Amendment, but I'm thinking to myself, like, if you know that you're in the country illegally and
Why you
that
have a gun with you?
the
Why you have
gun
a
is
gun
going
with
to
you?
cause you more issues than it is going to help you, why would you have it in your vehicle? Like, I think that's a fair question, especially if you're trying to not be
Well,
deported.
right.
No, like, I don't
Well,
think
I
it's a
think
crazy
people are
idea.
like waking up to they're waking up to like new America, where people actually enforce laws, where ICE agents actually go out and do what they are supposed to do, or they're not reined in and held back from fulfilling the duties of their job, where, it's no longer comfortable to be here on a visa that expired 12 years ago. Like, there needs to be some sort of accountability, and people don't like that. Especially you and your school district you look like fools for allowing this to happen. And I guarantee 100% would bet the farm on it that there were administrators that knew exactly what was happening. They knew something was fishy about this guy, or they saw it at the beginning and
But they
turned
were
a
afraid
blind
to talk
eye.
about it.
Of course they were, because then they're going to be the racist, the racist
Yeah.
white lady. And there has to be accountability. And instead of them coming out and doing the right thing and saying, this was an enormous oversight that has put children in danger, we are sorry. Our children's safety and education is worth more than this. There will be people held accountable. This will not happen again. They couldn't do that. They're telling us to go read this guy's book about radical empathy, so that if you feel bad, or if you're mad and angry that someone who is here and has overstayed their welcome is a superintendent, and by the way, making loads of money, company
Yeah,
car,
like $300,000 or
come
something like
on,
that.
then you're the racist if you are mad about that. It's
Well,
twisted.
and here's, like, to kind of play this out, it's not necessarily to say, like, he was in himself I don't know this man. I don't know. He could be a stand-up man that decided just not to follow the law in
No,
regards
you're not
to
a
illegal
stand-up
immigration.
person if you decide to not follow the law.
Hold on a minute. Let me finish my
I know.
comment here. Calm down, okay? I'm just saying. The bigger issue here overall that they don't want to talk about because they don't want to come off as racist, just like you said, is that if this happened in this situation, the question is, could this have happened with another individual in another situation? And on top of that, other things are overlooked that actually put our students in physical danger because you're not doing the proper vetting. Clearly, if you're not doing the proper vetting for whether or not his status is legal, you're likely not doing the proper vetting on whether or not he himself is safe, or whoever it is, male, is safe to be a superintendent to a school, regardless. So that's, to me, and that is what's driving me insane here, particularly with this story, is that nobody is willing to explore that question and investigate, how did we get here in the first place? Because, okay, maybe he's not, like, I don't know, a violent criminal, whatever. But what happens when you are overlooking things because you're just so in awe of someone's accolades and accomplishments that you don't do a full background on them? You let them fall through the cracks, and the next thing you know, you have someone who is a legitimate danger to be around your students or any type of program that revolves around children. Like, I think that's a real big issue, and that's a problem. And in fact, why is nobody talking about this consulting group? Like, they're the ones who failed, and like, I had to go digging to find out how this man was hired and what consulting group was it that was responsible for his hiring.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
and
that
it's
to
sad
me
to
is
say, but
insane.
this isn't new in education circles. If you go on education spaces on Twitter, where you follow people who track just the crazy amount of harm that is done to students in our government schools, it's everywhere. And it may not be all people who are illegal immigrants that are perpetuating this harm onto children, but there's tons of examples of teachers that did things and were given notice after notice, citation after citation, warning
And they
after
go and they
warning,
jump
and
to
they
another
continue.
district.
And then finally, at some point, they sexually abuse a child, they violently abuse a child physically, and then you look at their rap sheet, you're like, well, could have seen this coming. But I mean, again, there's not a whole lot of you can get tenure as a teacher in our country, and it is so difficult for districts to fire you, to have you fired once you have tenure. You have a big problem on your hands, and it's going to
Completely agree.
manifest.
Yeah. Well, and then of course, because people are only reading the headlines and he's being, I don't know, lauded as like an upstanding citizen, this is the situation that is going outside of where I believe this is where he's being held.
You all day, Dr. Ian Roberts, superintendent of Des Moines Public Schools, was arrested by ICE, detained by ICE this morning. Now, hundreds of people have gathered here in downtown Des Moines demanding his release.
It is so
that was
bizarre
right
to me.
after he was arrested.
Don't you people have things to do? Like, there are maybe 4 or 5 things that I would like leave my house to go protest, and this is not one of them. Like, what are you doing? And that you will give over your heart and soul and your ideology. So like, it's like a full-throated endorsement of illegal immigration that you're going to find out what this guy does, or maybe you did it, and then just stand out there and demand that he get released for what? For breaking the law. Like,
Yeah.
what's gone wrong?
I don't know.
There.
I mean, it's very frustrating. And then it continues because there's different kind of categories. That one, people are protesting, peacefully protesting. It's not the situation that we're seeing in, for example, Portland, right? So these people are completely within their right. I just think it's ridiculous that this is what you're going to spend your energy on when he's lied to the community and defrauded essentially the community. But okay, we're going to go out.
Well,
and
talk
protest
about
him. Okay, whatever.
Talk about harm for children, though. Honestly, kids are watching this kind of stuff, and they're imbibing it, and they're seeing like, oh, okay, so it is appropriate for us to protest someone who broke the law if it fits our the ideological bent of my parents. Okay, noted.
Yes.
I'll remember that. And then you wonder why we have the problems we have on college campuses, because we're fine to break the law if it serves our purposes, and that's harming kids. Very much.
Well, and that's a really good formula for chaos, which is what they are having currently in Portland. So to move on to our next story, the state of Oregon, and specifically Portland, is big mad because the president has decided or announced to deploy National Guard to Portland.
Yeah.
Now, so Trump announced at the request of Kristi Noem to deploy National Guard to Portland to provide assistance to ICE and the Department of Homeland Security in Portland. And here we go. I was looking for his post. He goes, at the request of Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, I am directing Secretary of War Pete Hegseth to provide all necessary troops to protect war-ravaged Portland and any of our ICE facilities under siege from attack by Antifa and other domestic terrorists. I am also authorizing full force if necessary. Thank you for attention in this matter.
I love that we always end with that now. That's my favorite thing.
Some of my favorites there. Now, when he announced this, of course, the big panic, I guess, that you would say that was coming from the left was, of course, the tone policing that much of the left, look, everybody can acknowledge that Trump loves to use, I don't know, hyperbole or whatever, right? But we also can follow history if we kind of can remember what happened, I don't know, like a month ago or something like that. Yeah. The situation is happening in Portland is very similar to what happened in Los Angeles. And if you remember what happened in Los Angeles, there was issues of people protesting and attacking, frankly, ICE officers and ICE detention centers or ICE field offices. And the decision was made to deploy National Guard in order to provide support to and protection for those ICE officers and those federal buildings. Okay.
Yeah, that is all very
legal.
That is
all they were doing in LA. At no point was there any type of law enforcement. In fact, the state of California sued the Trump administration, specifically trying to get them out of the state because the governor didn't ask them to come in or didn't invite them in. And a district court judge in the state of California ruled basically to summarize it real quick, they can't do law enforcement, but they can protect their federal offices and their agents, which is exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
So they were completely within their right. This is the same situation.
Yes.
However, Trump goes and he describes Portland as war ravaged, which upset a lot of them.
Very Trump. Very Trump of him.
Very Trump. And then the other one, too, is the fact that he authorized full force if necessary. And of course, everyone's freaking out that means that now the National Guard is going to just start shooting people in the street, which is not at all. Because if you also look at it
everywhere all over the country.
He specifically says that he wants he was talking about the ICE facilities that are under siege by Antifa. So this is why the National Guard is being deployed to Portland. And in fact, have also, which is not getting as much coverage, been deployed to Illinois. Because I believe there's a detention center out in Illinois, too, that's been dealing a lot with attacks on the officers and on the facilities. Now, of course, what we're getting primarily from the media is that the administration is being authoritarian, using Gestapo tactics, that this is fascism. You are seeing this consistently from Democrat leadership, specifically Pritzker, Gavin Newsom. I think he even posted something the other day. You know how Gavin Newsom's account has been like mimicking Trump, where he called Stephen Miller a fascist or something? Like, literally just yesterday. Yeah. This is nuts. Mind you,
it's nuts. And I wonder if any of these people have ever thought to themselves, because everything he's doing is above board. It's legal. Okay. Just other presidents haven't chosen that path or to enforce in that way. And I wonder if people, Democrats, have ever thought maybe he's just doing what some of us should have been doing all along. Like maybe he's just trying something that we didn't, which is why we're in a mess we're in. I mean, open borders for 4 years doesn't go without consequences. Like
that's
he's having to clean,
say.
He has to clean up the mess. So he's doing everything. And I think a lot of Democrats do know that. And they're just not honest enough. They don't want to go out on a ledge and like betray their party in that way and say that. But I mean, they just keep reiterating the rhetoric of fascism and authoritarianism. I mean, this is days after Charlie Kirk was assassinated and the word fascist was on the bullets. And you've got Gavin Newsom and other Democrats saying the exact same thing. I mean, they're just going right back to the playbook. Hitler, Nazi, fascist, authoritarian, tyranny, yada, 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 yada. It's predictable. It's tired. I don't think America has the appetite for it, but it's all they know. Because otherwise they would have to maybe say, yeah, Portland needs the National Guard. In fact, I saved a message from a gal in my Instagram community this morning who messaged and said, I'm from Portland.
I had one of those too.
Yeah. A lot of us are really glad that the National Guard is here. There's a lot more of us than there aren't. So I thought that was interesting.
Well, I want to share with you because, again, what I have seen in the conversations that I have seen online and that I have also seen from the media, by the way, because remember when this initially happened in LA, the whole thing was like, there's no disruption here. We don't need the National Guard. Everything's hunky-dory here. Sunshine and rainbows. This is completely unnecessary. So I really hope you guys are watching because I'm going to share some clips here of what's being represented or pushed out by Democrats and versus what they don't want you to notice. Okay. So this is the governor of Oregon, and she did like a little social media video reel or whatever for everybody to see how amazing Oregon is.
Okay.
Hello, Oregon. Governor Kotek here. Contrary to President Trump's latest social media post, Portland is not war-ravaged. There's no insurrection, there's no threat to national security, and there's no need for military troops. Military service members should be dedicated to real emergencies. And that's exactly what I said to the president when I asked him to stand down from sending federal troops into our city. But just in case that phone call wasn't enough, I thought I would take to the streets myself right here in downtown Portland. I'm standing just blocks away from the waterfront, overlooking the beautiful Willamette River. Portland City Hall, the federal courthouse, and dozens of shops and restaurants here in the central city. We do have challenges here in Portland, in Oregon, and across the country. The cost of living is too high. We need to build more housing that people can afford. And we need to always work on having the best schools possible. So let's keep the focus on the real problems, not the made-up ones.
Was that her
So she-
daughter or her girlfriend?
That's her wife.
Oh, wife. Sorry.
Yeah. But if you notice, first of all, this is like a reel, so it's a vertical. It's very tight on her and her wife, her partner. You don't see the city streets of Portland.
Right.
You don't really see the surrounding area. All right.
Yeah.
Now, this clip, it doesn't have any sound for those of you who are listening, but this is these are two posts from Senator Ryan, I think is how you pronounce his name. This is the Oregon senator. And the first one I'm going to play here is just a video of what is outside the ICE. It's actually the exterior of the ICE facility in Portland. And it says, taken just minutes ago outside the ICE facility, Trump claims under siege. My message to Trump is we don't need you, stay out. If you look at this video closely, actually, hold on, let's go back. I'm going to go back here so you guys can see a little closer. Notice that all the windows are boarded up on that building. Okay? Now, it is peaceful. Nobody's out there. But also, you can't see through the windows, right? Then his other post is about, this is Oregon's message, was loud and clear. And this is like a peaceful protest at some park where they're blowing bubbles, American flag, marching in the streets. Oregon doesn't need a federal occupation. Okay? So these are the posts.
Stay weird, Portland.
These are the posts that are being put out by the leadership in Oregon. Okay. I want to show you what was happening at that same facility before it was boarded up back on June 14th, which is the same day of the No Kings protests that happened nationwide.
Yes, please do.
So this is during the daytime, mind you. Tear gas, Antifa looking attacking officers. This is the night after, before the offices were boarded up. And for those of you who are listening, they're trying to kick in the doors.
Spicy boy! Hey, spicy boy, relax!
So, yeah.
Well, and I immediately thought about that. Like,
Well,
I could have
hold on.
gone. Okay.
Before you keep going, I just so you know, that was in June.
Yeah.
This was September 27th. And I saw a video from last night, but I just don't have it. But I just want to share with you what happened. So you still have people outside these ICE offices, and they're having to have officers come out when vehicles are entering. You'll see a car come in order to keep the people back so the vehicles can enter the facility.
Yeah.
They're dragging a guy inside because he tried to break the line. Also, the car can come in. And then once the vehicle comes in, the officers start to retreat back into the facility. So that was just the other night. So that means that this facility has been under siege for what, 3 months?
Yeah. Well, and I saw a video out of Illinois. The same thing was happening, broad daylight, and ICE vehicles were being blocked by like dozens of cars that were basically like laying on the front of the hood and like, you can't go, we don't want you here. These are that you cannot do that. Like, you can't do that. But it's happening all over the place. And I lived in Southern California. I could go down to LA. I did go down to LA and walk around. Parts of where I'm formerly from, Long Beach, are lovely during the day. And I could take a picture of a park with a child on a swing. And I could take a picture of a food truck where everybody is having their, burrito lunch. And it's amazing because it is, and it's lovely. You couldn't catch me dead there during the evening or even at dusk. There's no chance I'd be dead. So like, it's not happening. And we can all do that. Everybody can play that game. In most states, there's one or two places where it's just, you're not going to go ever. But these places, more and more, the areas that are unsafe for, civilians is growing. And Oregon's always been crazy. But I get messages from people all the time in Oregon. They're like, it's not safe here. And a growing number of people in Southern California, where we came from, it's just not safe anymore. Even in the daytime. Like, I didn't go to certain areas of where I live within 15, 20 minutes of my home. It's just not safe. And so when you have that combined with, crazy people who misunderstand what ICE does for a living, and they don't seem to understand national borders and immigration, who just are bored and want to get mad at somebody, that's like a recipe for disaster. And we're watching it happen everywhere. They need to clamp down on this right now. They need to be busting the chops of the people that are standing in front of ICE cars. Arrest them. You can't do that. That's not peaceful protest.
It's been wild to see. In fact, I've been following, so the Post Millennial has been they have a reporter there, Katie
Davenport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's a really good follow on X if you want to see specifically, because she's on the ground in Portland.
Mm-hmm.
And she has been covering the situation there every night. And she actually did like an 8-minute little documentary where she interviewed the officers there and they talked about the situation. And most recently, they have additional support right now. So there's some snipers on top of buildings. They also had a helicopter because they actually used a helicopter to lower some snipers on top of the building to provide backup support for the ICE officers at that facility. And somebody took one of these lasers and aimed it at the helicopter.
Arrest.
And that is, well, that's the thing. So anyways, that was investigated. They ended up, I think what it was, they were like, they did a raid on a home or an apartment complex. I'm not 100% sure, investigating who exactly had done that to the helicopter. And they found multiple illegal migrants who were there. One of them being the person who used that laser to try and blind the pilot of this helicopter. So,
are you talking about the laser pointer like I use with my cats?
I don't
is that what we're working with here?
I don't know what extent we're working with here, but that has been a strategy that has been used by some of these protesters and Antifa, where they take these lasers and they point them in people's eyes and faces. And that can cause retinal damage. That can legitimately cause damage. It sounds like something benign,
Arrest.
But it's not immediately arrest.
Yeah.
What is it? What does that mean?
Katie Davenport straight to jail.
Yes, straight to jail.
Wasn't Katie Davenport almost assaulted the other night, or she was assaulted the other night?
Bodyguard. She hadn't had her bodyguard with her. She for sure. And there's a few people. Nick Saley, I think is his last name. He's down there. He's been reporting on that. At one point, he was getting pushed out and harassed by someone in the crowd, and I guess one of the snipers saw what was going on. You could see the guy that was harassing Nick put a laser on the guy. He's like, you better back off of me because someone has a laser on you right now. I saw the clip on it. It's this, to say that everyone is skipping around the streets of Portland like hunky-dory, nothing is going on, is ridiculous.
No.
And also to make it seem like what Trump is wanting to do is to deploy the National Guard to the streets of Portland indiscriminately harassing people is also absolutely ridiculous. The focus is this ICE detention center or this ICE facility at the request of our Secretary of Homeland Security. And that's what they're going to be doing. And I personally don't have a problem with it. And I know that I have gotten multiple messages from people in the area of Chicago, of LA, of Portland that are like, and even DC, back when this was happening in DC, and they're like, completely fine with everything that's going on because they are sick and tired. During 2020 or right after, I think it was like in 2021, we helped at least 3 couples. We joked because they're here now in Tennessee. we joked about helping like 3 couples escape Portland.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, what is that show, that movie from the 80s with Kirk Russell, Escape from New
Oh,
York?
yeah.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
Escape from Portland. Like, that was the situation.
I have people in my DMs who are from other states that have not had the National Guard deployed, and they're like, "Can you send them here, please? Because it's a mess." People
I see that
don't
all the time
like
too.
this. They just don't like it. And there were plenty of Democrats in DC who I know were positively impacted by the cleanup that Trump did, and they just are chicken. They won't admit it, but I know that they
Yeah.
are.
Absolutely. And just, again, as I mentioned, now the district court in California that ruled that the administration could use the National Guard to protect their federal facilities and officers, that does not have jurisdiction in Oregon. I'm going to put it flat out.
Right.
Right now, the Oregon Attorney General is also filing against the administration for deploying the National Guard to the state. The likelihood, though, is that many districts will look at other districts for precedent. We'll see how that pans out. So it's more likely than not that they will have the same conclusion. Now, the state of California has filed an appeal on that particular case, which would then go to a district court, a federal district court. And that is the Ninth Circuit, or I should say Circuit Court. And that circuit, California and Oregon share that circuit. So if they do hear the case and they were to rule in favor of the president, that would also put a kibosh on
Impact.
on the Oregon case. So that's currently also happening in the background. I don't know. I'm just like,
well, and didn't he say that he's sending some National Guard to Tennessee too, right?
Memphis. Yes, but
Memphis,
the situation in Tennessee is different because we have a Republican governor.
Governor is like, yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
And the
Thank
mayor
you.
is not happy about it, but the mayor has it's not whatever. It's not his deal. So, so our governor is like totally for it. In fact, the announcement was done from the Oval Office with the governor right there with him. So, but yeah, obviously, this is going to continue to be a battle. The rhetoric is going to continue to kick up. Now, we also have this situation with the government shutdown. So on top of that, the Republicans are wanting to kill everyone because they don't want to fund the ACA.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So we will eternally be fascists, Nazis, murderers, rapists.
Yes.
Sexists.
Yes. Also,
race traitors.
I was told that today, for simply sharing Pete Hegseth's, one of his little
speeches,
sound bites, which we will talk about on Thursday.
It was very good.
Someone told me that I have brain rot from taking in a war ethos, which she got from Pete Hegseth. That I've been like brainwashed into thinking that we need to concentrate completely on a war ethos. And I was like, are you referencing the military that goes to war? Like, that's kind of where I want them to focus their energy.
Their purpose.
Yeah, I know. But I just thought, it fits so perfect into the narrative because that's where they're going with. You have these, and we'll talk about it on Thursday. I have so many thoughts.
I'm just wondering if that's supposed to be like, we're supposed to be like war hungry or war crazy, when specifically, if you watch his speech, he specifically wants the military to be prepared for war so we can maintain a status of peace.
Right. Well, and we have a president that's like, I hate war. I hate dying. And anyone who says that that's not the truth about Trump, you can say all kinds of stuff about Trump. I'll think you're wrong, but I'll think you're dead wrong if you think that Trump wants to get us in another war. And if that's what he's like tasking Pete Hegseth with, like, get a grip, pick another battle, unintended.
I'm going to start wrapping us up, but the second Friday of October, they announced the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yep. So he's like wanting to get this Israel thing
so bad.
Down.
Also,
yes.
At the same time, can you imagine if he gets it? We
will
never
hear
the end of it. He will
America
never shut up about it.
Yes.
I'm going to be like, that's it. I'm out.
That's it.
I can't do this anymore.
Our job
I
is
have
done.
to hear this one more time.
Yeah.
So,
I know.
Also, random question for anyone who's watching. Do we have the same nails right now?
Oh my goodness. Do we?
I have been looking at your nails and I think we have the same. Oh my gosh.
Do we? Are they glamnetic from Amazon?
Yes.
We're so pretty. Look at us. We fancy.
Oh my God. I've been
um,
looking at your nails and I was like, I think she has my nails on. I've had them on
I
longer
am
than you, though.
very excited about Glamnetic. I love it because my one treat for myself, once I started doing this job in earnest and just making a lot of money, my one treat to myself every month was to go get my nails done. I was like, I can do that. Okay. I'm not going to go out and get fancy, but I'll do that. And even that, I was like, I hate it. I hate spending the money on it. I hate the time I have to spend in that chair getting that done. But I still like how pretty nails look. And
Yeah.
Glamnetic on Amazon is my answer because it's cheap and you can
Yep.
have pretty nails and no one knows the difference. And I don't have to waste time or money. It's great.
Except when you accidentally match your nails with your co-host.
I think that's cute. See, we're not so different, Miss Sadie. We're not so different after all.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up for today's episode of Rivera and Reeves. If this is your first time here, welcome. You have found your new favorite podcast. Make sure you hit that follow button wherever you're listening, be it YouTube or on your favorite podcast platform. If you would like to support us, get ad-free episodes, get early episodes, and bonus episodes, please consider becoming a paying supporter. We have a discount link in the show notes. And also, because I know you guys are going to ask, yes, I will provide a link to these nails and my favorite nail glue.
If people want to subscribe to Rivera and Reeves Substack and get all the goodies, then we have a discount code for you for each of our
that's right.
respective Substacks. So
Okay.
we will give you a big fat discount. If you want to subscribe to all three, we got you.
Yeah. So there's two ways actually that you can subscribe to all three. If you have not subscribed yet and you want to go ahead and subscribe to all three all at one time, if you go to the Rivera and Reeves Substack, there is a foundation or founders membership. And whoever does a founders membership, which has a minimum, you can give us a little bit more if you like, but the minimum, which ends up giving you almost like, I think 30 or 40% off like 30% off all three of them. We will give you a comp to our individual Substacks if you subscribe on the Rivera and Reeves as a founder. Now, if you've already subscribed to Rivera and Reeves and you want to subscribe to one of us, contact us in the DMs, send us a message either on our Instagram or on Substack, and we will share a discount code with you for 40% off on our individual Substacks. And that way,
really good deal.
you don't have to subscribe to both of us. You only have to subscribe to mine.
Nice.
But you can, whoever you choose, regardless, we have a discount code exclusive to our Rivera and Reeves paying supporters. So that's it. Okay, we're done. We will see you again on Thursday for another episode of Rivera and Reeves with our friend Amanda Peterson, where we're going to break down this peace plan for Israel and Gaza. And is this potentially going to happen? Like, this is honestly probably one of the most promising ones we have seen so far. So we'll see what happens. That's it. That's all we have. Here is a reminder that the media is trash and we have no tolerance for it. Okay, bye.